Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin announcing today new protections for women and their families in the military to access abortion health care and to protect their health information, saying the Supreme Court ruling that overturned Roe v. Wade has also impacted the recruiting efforts. It comes as the Biden administration is making an all-hands-on-deck push to advocate for abortion access as the midterm elections inch closer, including hearing from First Lady Dr. Jill Biden. She spoke at a fundraiser telling a deeply personal story of helping a friend who needed an abortion before Roe, telling the audience this, quote, "Secrecy, shame, silence, danger, even death. That is what defined that time for so many women. Women will not let this country go backwards. We fought too hard for too long, and we know there is just too much on the line." Joining us now, former press secretary to the First Lady, Michael LaRosa. AB's still around. Michael, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me here.
So you know more about the story, and I think is this the first time she's told the story in a political?
Yeah, it was actually
setting?
when I read it, it was the first time I had heard the story. But you know, I think, and this is what she talked about a lot, like when this decision came down, was how this is not abstract for her. Like she lived it. She lived pre-Roe, and I think that's what has really fired her up. But if you know Dr. Biden, like, you know, she's sort of the protector of her family's privacy and of her own privacy.
Yeah.
So she doesn't share stories like this very often. That's sort of like, that's what blew me away was hearing such a personal, moving story from her own life about how this affected her. But she stepped out of her comfort zone, I think, because she knows how high the stakes are. And I think that's what she's trying to articulate to women and voters generally about how high the stakes are by telling a story like that. It takes guts for her to do that. So
I worked for a president for whom he was proud that Laura Bush was in greater demand on the campaign trail, really almost from the beginning, but certainly by 06, everyone wanted Laura Bush. Joe Biden is in demand as well, but Dr. Jill Biden is in high demand. Does she like doing this? What is her mindset about being on the campaign trail?
I don't know what she would say if I said yes, she likes it. God. Well, as you know, she has her own job, her own schedule, but that didn't stop her from campaigning everywhere in 2020. And she was doing 3 to 4 events a day in Iowa and New Hampshire, and she never gave up. She never gave up hope because she believed in him so much. But she's pretty good at it, and I think like what you see, like when she goes into these coffee shops in Iowa or these small towns, she sounds like real America. She has this sort of, when you just listen to her say coffee, she sounds like she's from the Northeast, but she sounds just like you and me. She sounds like your aunt.
She's normal.
She's normal. She has a normalness to her that is a secret weapon for campaigning.
The abortion issue, when the decision was made, it was top of mind. And I mean, even in states like Kansas, you saw Republicans reject the kinds of bans that Republicans envisioned for the whole country now that Roe's been overturned. Does communicating on this come from this personal place you're talking about, or is it sort of matched by the political imperative of reminding people the stakes in the midterms?
I think it's both, and she made it as such. You know, we were in Florida when the decision came down, and she was actually with Governor DeSantis backstage when they were going to deliver remarks at the Surfside anniversary memorial. And we flew back and we got on the plane and we kind of, you know, because all the alerts came in and it was just like, oh, I can't believe this actually happened. So there was a period where she was just sort of shocked that it happened, but I was really proud of her first instinct to react was because we were talking about how are we going to talk about this? How are you going to talk about this when we land or in our next event? Her first instinct was to fight. It was, we have to suit up for the midterms and vote. And, you know, that wasn't the most popular idea, but I was all about it. I loved it, and she's very good at it. And I think as a Senate spouse, she knows how important those Senate majorities are. And as the wife of a judiciary chairman, you know, she knows that pro-life candidates will not protect women's rights.